Peter Parker is a quiet, intelligent, and kind-hearted high school student living in New York City with his Aunt May and Uncle Ben, who have raised him like their own son. He's often picked on by classmates and feels invisible to most people, especially the girl he secretly loves, Mary Jane Watson, his beautiful and outgoing neighbor. His best friend, Harry Osborn, comes from a wealthy family, and though they're close, Peter sometimes feels overshadowed by Harry's father, Norman Osborn, a successful scientist and owner of Oscorp. One day, Peter's class takes a trip to a science laboratory where genetically modified spiders are being studied. While taking photos for the school paper, Peter is bitten by one of the spiders. The bite seems minor at first, but when he returns home, he begins to feel dizzy and weak, and he collapses into bed. The next morning, he wakes up feeling different, stronger, faster, and with perfect vision. He soon realizes he has developed incredible powers, including the ability to climb walls, shoot webs from his wrists, and sense danger before it happens. Excited but unsure of what to do, Peter tests his abilities and begins to dream of using them to impress Mary Jane. Hoping to buy a car to get her attention, he joins a wrestling competition using his new powers under the name, Spider-Man. However, after winning the fight, the promoter cheats him out of the prize money. Moments later, a robber steals from the promoter, and Peter, out of spite, lets the criminal escape. Not long after, tragedy strikes when Peter's beloved Uncle Ben is shot and killed by that same robber during a carjacking. Overcome with guilt, Peter hunts the killer down and realizes the terrible cost of his selfishness. From that day forward, he vows to use his powers to protect others, remembering his uncle's words, "With great power comes great responsibility." Meanwhile, Norman Osborn faces a crisis of his own. His company, Oscorp, is on the verge of losing its military contract, so he decides to test a dangerous experimental serum on himself. The serum enhances his strength, speed, and intelligence, but it also drives him insane, splitting his mind into two personalities, one rational and one evil. His darker side takes over, turning him into the Green Goblin. Using advanced weaponry and a flying glider, he kills his company's board members and begins wreaking havoc in New York City. Peter, now fully embracing his identity as Spider-Man, becomes the city's masked hero, saving lives and stopping criminals. The people love him, but the Daily Bugle's editor, J. Jonah Jameson, calls him a menace, printing false stories to discredit him. Peter takes photos of himself as Spider-Man and sells them to Jameson to earn some money, but his personal life continues to suffer. He grows distant from Aunt May, hides his secret from Harry, and struggles to balance his feelings for Mary Jane, who starts dating Harry. The Green Goblin becomes obsessed with destroying Spider-Man, testing him in battle and eventually learning his true identity. Norman, realizing Peter is close to both Mary Jane and Aunt May, attacks them to break him emotionally. He injures Aunt May, leaving her hospitalized, and later kidnaps Mary Jane, threatening to drop her from the Queensboro Bridge. In one of the movie's most intense moments, Spider-Man is forced to choose between saving Mary Jane or a tram full of children, but he risks everything and manages to save both. The final battle between Spider-Man and the Green Goblin takes place in an abandoned building. Both fight fiercely, with Peter ultimately defeating Norman. In his dying moments, Norman reveals himself and begs Peter not to tell Harry about his alter ego. However, just before dying, the Goblin's glider impales him, killing him instantly. Peter is devastated but keeps Norman's secret out of loyalty. At Norman's funeral, Harry swears revenge against Spider-Man, believing that he killed his father. Peter, standing nearby, hides his pain, knowing the truth but unable to tell his friend. Mary Jane confesses her love for Peter, but he decides to distance himself to protect her from the dangers of his double life. The movie ends with Peter walking away, accepting his destiny as Spider-Man. A lone hero bound by responsibility, protecting the people of New York from the shadows, and forever carrying the weight of his uncle's words in his heart.